although we have seen what feels like a majority of the mainstream corporate media bend the knee to Donald Trump, there are still journalists out there who are unafraid and unmoved by his threats against them, who are unapologetic in their reporting of the truth. And of course, one of those journalists is Jim Acosta, who unfortunately announced today he will be leaving CNN, but fortunately for us, he is still staying in the news business. And Jim Acosta, throughout his career, has been someone who has always infuriated Donald Trump because he is willing to stand up for the truth, and he did as well today. What he said in his final message on CNN is driving Donald Trump crazy and led to a complete meltdown on Truth Social that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means the world to me. Now, before we get into that final message that Jim Acosta delivered, I want to check out one of his most recent interviews with Capitol Police Officer Michael Fanone, because it is just so impactful.
Just days after his sweeping clemency order that pardoned more than 1,000 January 6 rioters, President Trump now says he's open to hosting some of them over at the White House.
I don't know. I'm sure that they probably would like to. I did them something important, but what they did is they were protesting a crooked election. I mean, people understand that also. And they were treated very badly. Nobody's been treated like that. So I'd be open to it, certainly.
A fact check, they were not just protesting. They were beating police officers. They were storming the Capitol, and they were not protesting a crooked election because the election was not crooked. But these are some of the so-called protesters the president is considering welcoming to the White House. Violent rioters who not only attacked democracy that day, but also the police officers who tried to stop them. That includes former D.C. police officer Michael Fanone, who you can see here fighting to protect the Capitol that day against that violent mob. And Mike Fanone joins me now. Mike, good to see you. I mean, it almost seems like we're in a bizarre world here, that January 6 rioters and insurrectionists would be welcomed over to the White House. What do you think about that?
I actually disagree, Jim. I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, I like to hang out with people that I have things in common with. And Donald Trump is a convicted criminal and an insurrectionist. And he wants to hang out with fellow convicted criminals and insurrectionists. So, for me, this makes perfect sense.
And, for all the talk that you hear from his aides and allies that it's time to move on, it's time to look forward and so on, he keeps coming back to this and saying it was a crooked election and so on. He's back in the White House, and he can't even admit that he lost in 2020. He downplayed the violence that day during this recent Oval Office interview, if you want to call it that. Let's take a listen.
Most of the people were absolutely innocent. Okay, but forgetting all about that, these people have served horribly a long time. Some of those people with the police, true, but they were very minor incidents.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, we've seen the video of what you went through that day. We've shown this is your body cam footage. We can show it again. These were not minor incidents. But he's trying to whitewash, obviously, what took place on January 6th. And it seems to me, I know you guys are disappointed, you and the other officers are disappointed that Trump's back in the White House, but it seems you almost have another mission ahead of you, and that is to stop the whitewashing of January 6th from happening.
This is the exact type of reporting that will be dearly missed in Jim Acosta's absence, especially at a network like CNN that's just falling apart and, like I said, just capitulating to Trump, covering him how he wants to be covered, acting like it's business as usual with this administration. Jim Acosta is unwilling to do so. And that is the exact message he sent in his final segment on CNN, telling journalists to stand up for the truth. I absolutely love it. Let's take a look.
And I just wanted to end today's show by thanking all of the wonderful people who work behind the scenes at this network. You may have seen some reports about me and the show. And after giving all of this some careful consideration and weighing an alternative time slot CNN offered me, I've decided to move on. I am grateful to CNN for the nearly 18 years I've spent here doing the news. People often ask me if the highlight of my career at CNN was at the White House covering Donald Trump. Actually, no. That moment came here when I covered former President Barack Obama's trip to Cuba in 2016 and had the chance to question the dictator there, Raul Castro, about the island's political prisoners. As the son of a Cuban refugee, I took home this lesson. It is never a good time to bow down to a tyrant. I have always believed it's the job of the press to hold power to account. I've always tried to do that here at CNN, and I plan on doing all of that in the future. One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear. Hold on to the truth and to hope. Even if you have to get out your phone, record that message. I will not give in to the lies. I will not give in to the fear. Post it on your social media so people can hear from you too. I'll have more to say about my plans in the coming days, but until then, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. It has been an honor to be welcomed into your home for all these years. That's the news. Reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta.
A powerful message. Again, Jim Acosta will be missed, but not for long because he's getting back in. I'm excited to hear the updates on what his next venture will be, but someone who is not excited to hear those updates is Donald Trump, and he made that incredibly clear in a meltdown of a post that we're going to check out right here. Trump wrote, "Wow, really good news. Jim Acosta, one of the worst and most dishonest reporters in journalistic history, a major sleazebag, has been relegated by CNN fake news to the midnight hour, Death Valley, because of extraordinarily bad ratings and no talent. Word is that he wants to quit, and that would be even better. Jim is a major loser and will fail no matter where he ends up. Good luck, Jim." So, yeah, Trump obviously not very happy there with Jim Acosta. Still has some residual anger towards him. And what a surprise that is. Donald Trump holding a grudge. Donald Trump feeling vengeful. Behavior we have never seen from him before. But of course, this being Jim Acosta's last day did not stop him from doing his job. He was continuing to call out the disgraceful, unconstitutional, and illegal actions we have seen from Donald Trump as recently as last night in a segment that I want to check out right here.
Returning now to our top story, an overnight memo from the Trump administration ordering a sweeping pause on all federal grants and loans that could impact trillions of dollars in federal assistance for people in every state. Let's bring in Democratic Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut. Congresswoman, great to see you. Thank you so much. I understand you're the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee. What is going on with these programs that are going to be impacted by this? We were looking at a graphic earlier that showed Head Start, breakfast and lunch programs for needy children. Say it ain't so.
Well, it is so. And thank you so much for inviting me to be on, Jim. I think this is really outrageous. And this administration is really hurting hardworking Americans. The actions are causing chaos. I can't tell you how many calls I've had, from mayors, from colleagues, et cetera, of what is going on. And when you ask the agency what funding is safe, their response is, we don't know. And if they don't know, then nothing is safe. And nothing is safe. You should know. I'm going to make a point to you, Jim, that, but that's not really, he is breaking the law. This is the Appropriations Committee has voted bipartisan House, Senate, signed by the president, and this is law, and he's taking it into his hands to thwart that system, and he will continue to do it. But your point is, and my point is, how is it affecting Americans? And you highlighted some. I am now sitting for this interview in a Title I school district, and that takes care of 3 schools in my community. I'm about to speak to kids here this morning. And what does it mean if the Title I funds are frozen? That means that teachers don't get paid. You talked about Head Start. It's childcare. It is the after-school programs. And more examples, SNAP, food benefits so families can feed their children, the WIC program, which deals with women, infants, and children, housing, and programs that deal with housing assistance, veterans writ large, homeless provider grants for them. There is nursing home care, transportation programs, suicide prevention programs. I can go on and on, Jim. This is reckless in terms of the services that the federal government provides to hardworking Americans. And my constituencies, my constituents, who are going to be hurt. And this is in every city and town across this country. And it is in violation of the law, in violation of the Constitution.
Well, and you and Senator Patty Murray of Washington State wrote a letter to the White House saying, quote, we can put this on screen, we write today to urge you in the strongest possible terms to uphold the law and the Constitution and ensure all federal resources are delivered in accordance with the law. And I guess you touched on this earlier, Congresswoman, and for the folks at home, maybe help me explain this. When the Congress passes something, when they appropriate money to certain programs, and that is signed into law by the president, and yes, that may have been Joe Biden, now there's a new president here, another president can't come in and just say, well, we're throwing stuff out the window here. Wouldn't you have to pass yet another law and have that law signed by the new president? If you want to get rid of Head Start and food stamps and all of those things, President Trump, you got to do this through the proper methods.
Absolutely. It's spot on. This was appropriated. That means the funds are there. It's now the agencies have to carry that mandate out. And that is their responsibility by law, is to carry out these programs. And so they're flying in the face of the law and of the Constitution, because it is Congress who has the power of the purse, of expending the money. Now, they can question and so forth, but freezing it all, as I said, the effects of that, and that's what people need to know. This is not, I don't want to make constitutional arguments. That's not what people need to hear. People need to know how this is going to affect their family, their kids, and their way of life. What are we about here?
Well, and that's what
people.
I was told by all the smart people in Washington, that this election was about putting food on the table, the price of groceries, the price of eggs, and meat and potato type issues. This is talking about taking meat and potatoes from the kids.
More members of the mainstream media need to be covering this Trump administration like Jim Acosta is. Do not treat this as business as usual. Continue to call out his lies. Continue to call out the ways that he is breaking his promises, turning his back on his own voters, and upending every important institution in our country. We will be talking about that every single day on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.